Welcome to Tech at Lunch, the podcast that satisfies your hunger for all things tech while you enjoy your midday meal. So grab your sandwich, tune in, and let's dig in. Hello, I'm Nick, and welcome to this week. As you can tell, we did not have John or Ed on the intro with me. And, they got some stuff going on. As we know, John is pursuing his master's degree. So he had some stuff going on with school. While, Ed had some stuff going on with work and some other family topics that he had going on tonight. So, but you know what? I didn't want to stop the ball from rolling. I really wanted to, kind of sit down and do a more, I guess you could say, intimate conversation with y'all. And kind of like, I guess you'd say, just have a one-on-one conversation. Or one on how many of y'all listen to me, I guess. Last week we kind of covered, additive manufacturing and how it kind of plays a role in, small business. And also how it has evolved across the different industries, and how the industrial changes happen, how we kind of see, say, Industry 4.0 happen, and how we see that the new revolution kind of taking place as far as, the different, industry level, which would be, of course, Industry 4.0. And, that kind of leads me to what I kind of want to talk about this week. And I kind of want to go into, why STEM? Why do we focus so heavily on, STEM-related topics? Why do we really push the envelope when we want to see people learn more about additive manufacturing, or we want people to learn more about CNC, or why do we want people to learn about robotics? How we see it is, as the industries grow, as we see Industry 4.0 become, a thing, as we kind of see it increase in popularity and older businesses take hold of it and newer businesses take hold of it, there's going to be a need for people. There's going to be a need for people who want to work with 3D printers, that want to work with robots, that want to work with a CNC machine. And, for us, you can't do any of that without STEM being involved. Science, technology, engineering, and math. However, when we really start talking about, 3D printing and that type of stuff, you really start getting into what they kind of call STEAM: science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. We start getting into that because you have computer-aided design, you have the 3D model design and stuff like that, if you are using a CAD or if you're using like Tinkercad or something like that. And the thing is like we also want people to kind of experiment with technology that's outside their comfort zone. There's also got to be a push to move this type of technology, this type of training, this type of know-how into the school system. And we kind of see that as, kind of a moral obligation. And that's kind of why we do this podcast. We give away and want to give away so much information that we will make sure that everybody gets something new, gets to learn something, got a little bit of fun with it. But we see it as a moral obligation where somebody needs to reach out and be the voice of reason for STEM. We know a lot of people do it. Titans of CNC does it, and all of them. We see that. We see your big robot manufacturers that are getting involved in STEM education. I saw them at Automate. You see KUKA, you saw Fanuc, you saw ABB, you saw freaking Yaskawa. Getting involved in the world of robotic STEM. You also saw it at South Tech. When we were talking about, subtractive manufacturing, and you were really getting involved with the guys from Phillips Haas and Haas CNC. We really started talking to those guys, really breaking down kind of the barriers of STEM when it comes down to that type of education. But for us, our big thing is we want people to have fun. We want people to learn it. We want people to be involved in it because it sets them up for their future. It also makes things well-rounded. If you understand science, you understand technology, you understand a little bit of engineering and a little bit of math, guess what? You will have got the 4 points needed to be successful because you kind of understand, you're well-rounded. You kind of understand that information. Even if you don't, guess what? You're still well-rounded. But the thing is there's so much more fun involved in STEM. Because if you're an educator or you're working in this field, and the reason why we like it is because when you introduce somebody to something new, they get excited. You see that smile show up on their face again. You got people who are, 60, 70 years old, if not older, that have never seen a 3D printer. They've never played with a 3D printer. That's never gotten anything given to them made from a 3D printer. And we give them that, their eyes light up. They get excited. Then the same thing goes if you take that 3D print, like a kid version of that 3D print, and you give it to a child, and you watch their eyes light up, and they start kind of questioning, oh, how'd you make that? How does this work? Stuff like that. And you slowly but surely build that curiosity, because curiosity is the best thing that ever happened to somebody. Once you start getting curious, you start getting hungry for knowledge, then you start wanting to learn more and more and more until the time ends. So, for us, that's what we try to do. We try to make sure that, we give that little bit of knowledge, we get people interested in it, and we keep feeding it to them. Because we want people interested. We want people having fun with it. So why STEM? Why not? That should be the question, is why not? We want to see the additive manufacturing environment and technology base grow. We want to see them start moving a lot of the additive manufacturing stuff down to a community college where it's more accessible for people who may not be going to a 4-year institution. Or even take that additive manufacturing stuff. You already have shop, right? In high school, or at least some people do. And bring it down to shop class. Teach the kids in shop how to use a 3D printer. How to use an additive machine to print parts for a project they're working on. Or even an auto shop. Hey, how do I print this to do an R&D model for this? The same thing with bringing in 3D scanners. You can bring 3D scanners into an art class. You can bring 3D scanners into anything, into a math class, because you're talking about vectors, you're talking about, STLs, you're talking about angles of movement. You can bring that stuff into a math class. You can bring that stuff into, auto shop and show kids how to do R&D work and let them really play with it and kind of build their own thing, right? Everybody has a laptop now in schools, or at least most of them do. And it's now time that we use that to our advantage and we start teaching more advanced STEM education, STEM curriculum through the process. And this leads me to CNC. Because if you have an auto shop program in your high school, or even if you have a regular shop class, you should be teaching CNC of some sort. It doesn't have to be, a 6-axis machine. It doesn't need to be, like anything major. Haas Mini Mill, so you can teach the kids how do you design for that? How do you teach them how to use it? How do you get their hands dirty using it? How do they maintain it? Because the thing is you may now, by teaching that and bringing that about, is introduce a kid to a career path they never think they've had. And, that's why for us, we find it interesting because we get to open up career paths to people they never knew they needed or never wanted to know they wanted to learn about. And we get to learn about new ones too. Every time we sit down and talk to somebody at a convention or sit down and talk to somebody at a show, we learn something new about that trade. And then we get to come back here and talk about that trade and get more people wanting to do that trade. Most of y'all know, or have at least heard us talking about it, that, a lot of us work in automotive manufacturing, or at least manufacturing at that point. And, the thing is we tell people that, there's lots of generations coming through the pipeline right now. And we want to see more and more people get into robots, get into that robot education side of the house. Really want to learn something. But we also want to see robots get brought into the lower level schools. They don't need to reserve 6 DOLF, robots for the technical colleges or the 4-year institutions. Bring them down to the high schools. Bring them down to the middle schools. Bring your small little, robot operating system or robot operating system 2, depending on which one you want to use, into elementary school and teach kids how to drive a robot. Right now, a lot of times we're programming via block programming. So it's pretty much, if you do this, I want you to do this. And there's a GUI interface to it. So there's a graphical user interface for this stuff. And it's just, you drag it and you map it like building blocks. That type of stuff you can teach in an elementary science class. You can teach kids how to program robots via a GUI interface, or even just by doing it via blocks. You don't have to do it via computer if you don't want to, but doing it via block and teach kids from the elementary school. You can start in 5th grade how to program and block program robots. Hey, this is what this does. But it's not only robots. You have I'd have to look it up. I believe it's MIT that does it, but it teaches kids how to build apps by using block programming. Why are we not doing that? Why are we not teaching kids that, hey, guess what? You can develop apps. You can do all this stuff and be involved in STEM and have a career doing something you enjoy. You're already 95% of your phone anyways. But, the thing is once you start doing robot programming in elementary school, you can bring that up higher and higher and higher. As you start getting into like geometry, you start getting into angles and stuff like that. You can now take a 6 DOLF robot and fully explain all the different axes of a robot, all 6 degrees of freedom. And not just talk about it, but visualize it. Get the kids interested in it because, I want to see what the robot does today. I want to keep going back to this class because this teacher has a robot, or this teacher has a CNC machine, or this teacher has a 3D printer, and we're learning how to use it. But we're also learning the basics that come along with the class we're in. Because especially when you start talking about, if you start talking about like statistics and stuff like that, and you really start getting into, hey, how many is this, how many is that? You can use a robot with vision systems to pick out different colors and do certain things. So you're showing like a randomness of choice. But the thing is you can teach these robots to do these things, and you can have the kids visualize the data. Oh, this is what it's doing. This is where it's going here. But it's keeping them involved. It's keeping them happy. It's really getting them in turn into it. But the thing is, it's not only just the kids or the young adults that's getting a reintroduction to what STEM is. For me personally, I think it is everybody. I really think there's more of an awareness now of what is STEM, what does it need to do, what can we go from here, how can we do this, and my thing is, and this is, working in, an IT field, an engineering field, we hear people say, well, I don't understand computers. I can't understand 3D printers. No, you can. And the thing is, it's one program on a laptop. You're learning how to use a slicer. Most of the time, you can download these models for free and print them for yourself. When you start using like Tinkercad, if you've never used a CAD program before, go to Autodesk and get a free subscription to Tinkercad. If you're a teacher, look into Tinkercad because students have the ability to access Tinkercad, and if you work through your organization, they should have access to it too, meaning that now you can teach kids CAD design, mathematical designs, and stuff like that on on their laptops that they carry with them. But then you can take that just like you would at the house. If you say, "Oh, well, okay, cool, I can learn that." Yeah, cool. You can save that file as an STL and upload that STL into Cura or into Prusa Slicer, and actually slice, or Bamboo Lab Slicer that they've got now, and slice it to work on that printer, and then print it and watch your design come to life. Do you enjoy STEM and do enjoy additive manufacturing? Do you have to go get it a Ender 3 and completely rebuild it from scratch? No, you don't have to do that. If you want to start with a Bamboo or a Prusa, where you don't have to tinker, but you enjoy making things, start there. Have fun with it. If you really want to start with something that could lead to something else, take a look at the Ender X1Cs. Because those printers can print very hot. They can print higher level materials. So it expands your ability of what things to print. You don't just printing PLA anymore. You're printing PLA, ABS, PETG, TPU, and all those fun things. Nylons, carbon fibers, stuff you can use around the house in your cars. But the thing is that type of stuff is, the way forward when it comes down to keeping people interested in what is 3D printing. Because the thing is more people we get that say, "Hey, guess what? I want to try that." Or, "I never thought I could do that." More interested they get. And if you take a classroom that now designs their own block, or their own cube, or their own design for an experiment, and you upload that to a 3D printer and you print every single student's design, they can actively take the design they built and rapid prototype it to get exactly what they want. Most people remember the egg drop lesson, where you can wrap up the egg and you try to make it survive a landing. However, if you give kids the ability to rapid prototype, let them have the ability to use CAD, have them use Tinkercad. Don't have to be anything expensive. Tinkercad's free. Use Tinkercad, send it to a 3D printer, print what they want, do some R&D work, and then do the test. Because now, not have you only taught them how to use CAD, you've taught them how to do R&D, you've taught them how to do iterative design, so if one thing doesn't work, change it. You've taught them how to use calipers. You've taught them how to use all different levels of the math curriculum, the technology curriculum, the engineering curriculum, and the science curriculum, because, you're trying to make sure an egg doesn't explode. And the thing is just that one assignment alone can change the way a kid sees things. John says all the time when we have these conversations that if he saw a 3D printer before he did, it would change the trajectory of where he's at right now. And I'm going to tell you this: the same thing for me. If I would have been involved in 3D printing a long time ago, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. If I would have been involved in CNC work well before now, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And the thing is that's why we care about STEM. We want to see people kind of see these new things, kind of enjoy them, have fun with them. And then it's like you start getting into, the whole side of robots. Industrialized robots. Or if you really want to talk about a robot in your house, a Roomba. And, that type of stuff. Teaching kids how to work that type of stuff and program it. Their eyes will light up. But, for me, and, I think the rest of the guys, it's That's what drives us. That's what drives us to want to be, involved in STEM, and wants and want us to really enjoy that. And that's, kind of the reason why, this podcast came to life. The podcast came to life not just because me and Ed were talking about things, and we really wanted to share what we were yapping about with the rest of the world. We're already talking about Industry 4.0. We're already talking about STEM. We're already talking about how we feel like this generation coming in behind us is getting kind of screwed because, they have the technology available to them, but it seems like the educational society right now, as far as in lower level education, doesn't want to put forth the money nor the energy to really support that effort. Some schools do, some high schools, some elementary schools really do, middle schools, really do. They have robotics teams and stuff like that. We have a few around my area, and they're great. They really keep the kids interested, really keep them having fun. They've won really big awards doing that type of stuff. And you have companies out there like Yaskawa Moto Man. They are doing big things when it comes down to robotic education. I mean, absolutely big things. If you want to bring robotic education into your school, contact Yaskawa through the educational side and talk to those guys. Because I guarantee you that will change the way you see robotics education. And they're a great group of guys, by the way. But that's just one side of it. It's also the fact that, we've sat here for so long and so many years and pushed higher education and pushed people to go get a bachelor's degree, pushed people to go get a master's degree, or, like I'm doing, pushing to go get a doctorate. Why? Because it's considered the pinnacle of education. And I thought, still do think, that that's something I wanted. And, for me, does everybody need that? No. Can everybody achieve that? Yes, I think so. But the thing is we don't want to discourage people from going into the trade schools. People who want to go become a mechanic, go get ASE certified. You're still doing a STEM school, as a STEM, path. Go for it. Hell, freaking my company, Vulcan Art Technology Solutions, we are proud members of SEMA and PRI, and you will see us at the SEMA show this year. So, and also we're going to see a little bit more car content coming to the YouTube channel eventually. And additive and maybe a little bit subtractive. But the thing is, if you want to go be a mechanic ASE certified, STEM, that's all it is. If you want to go do CNC work, STEM education. If you want to go do an additive, which I hope they bring more to the technical schools, I want to see more of that. The guys who are getting into AMP mechanics, to go fix airplanes and stuff like that. That is STEM from the get-go, because you have to understand how a plane flies, how it operates, and then you also have to understand the, engines behind it all. Maybe one of these days we'll see if we can't set up something with the local school here that does AMP, and see if we can get down there and have a conversation with them and stuff like that with y'all, so y'all can listen in on that. But that's the thing. It's just we want to see more of that. We want to see people push that way. We want to see people find something they enjoy. If you say, "Hey, guess what? I just want to go to culinary art school." Cool. I'm all for it. I grew up wanting to own a restaurant. The thing is, I guarantee you didn't think about it. How much of the STEM world pertains to cooking? Everything. You have the science when you're coming up with recipes, the technology when you're dealing with temperatures and stuff like that of what ovens you're using, or if you're using real fire type of stuff. The engineering. You're dealing with how do you engineer that plate to look the greatest way it can before you present it to somebody who is going to who's going to eat with their eyes first and judge your food by how it tastes. You're engineering that. If you don't think you are, look at it again. And then you have the math. What's my serving size going to be? What is this going to be? What is my measurements of this dish supposed to be to make sure it meets every little wicket that you've been aiming for? And this also goes for the bakery guys out there, guys and gals. That is STEM to the T. When it comes down to a culinary art type of side of the house, is how you design puff pastry, how you design a cake, how do you do certain things. When you start talking about marbleization and stuff like that, when you're talking about layering icings and stuff, you're really getting into that. You're dealing with, okay, cool, I need to measure this out, I need to do this, especially if you're doing something like, a cake design, where you have it shaped a certain way or whatever. That stuff is the epitome of STEM when it comes down to the culinary arts. And, the thing is, we push every level of it, and we want to. And, that's why like I said in the beginning, why we love STEM. We love STEM to the point where you kind of eat, sleep, and breathe it. Where you say, hey, guess what? This would be kind of cool to teach people. We start thinking about how we want to add more value to the YouTube channel as far as doing STEM education on certain things. And we're gonna start doing that. We start dealing with, how I want to take my company and partner with different organizations to bring STEM education, to bring more STEM-based, like robotics and additive manufacturing type of stuff, to SEMA education, to PRI education, and sit down with these guys and who are my peers and have a conversation with them about how you can use this in your organization. How can you build, not your brand on it, but how can it help you do rapid prototyping and, additive design? Because the thing is yes, CNC is great. Billet looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. However, it's expensive. A roll of filament is about $16 if you start with PLA. A block of aluminum is like $40. So I would rather waste the filament, get it down pat with what I want, and then print it. Then I'd use my CNC machine to cut it out of that block of aluminum. That's just, my rant when it comes down to iterative design, R&D and stuff like that. When it comes down, especially when it comes down to additive. And if you think about it, as we see more and more strides across every bit of the STEM world, we see a different, opportunity pop up for people to get involved. For example, we have the CRX line of robots with FANUC. Those robots are collaborative robots that are designed with people in mind to work around people, to support your processes and your things. If you can take a CRX robot and every time the door dings for your 3D printer, you can reach in there and grab the part and, put it on a table, then start the printer back over again. So that, that's plausible. If you really want to go that way, you're using light sensors and all this other stuff. But, that's something you can do. We saw it just the other day when the guys from Titans of CNC showed that they can not just machine their chessboard, but they can use a FANUC CRX line of robot to play chess and show that this is what the future of robot programming is. This is the fact that Now we can get these robots in mom and pop shops. That's what I preach the most. Small business, get robots. Not really get robots, but should look into having them as an assistant. For example, palletization robots in a small business. You have other employees who are doing palletization right now that could probably be better off doing something else. Why not have a robot do it for you? And you just verify what it's doing. Teach it. Now you not only have an employee who's getting promoted, who's not going to be a robot engineer, who's going to be a part of that, and you have inward promotion ability. Never fire anybody. If you bring in, and that's why I preach this the most, if you bring in a robot, if you bring in a CNC machine, and you bring in an additive manufacturing machine, you should not let anybody go. But I know I'm hearing people, oh, well, but what about headcount? What about headcount? What about headcount? It's a machine. It doesn't count towards headcount. And I'll say it again for the people in the back. Those machines do not count towards your headcount. So, but the thing is, I understand they cost for electricity. They cost for spare parts. But guess what? If you fire the one person that's been sitting there, or you let them go because they've been downsized due to the increase of automation, hate to break it to you, you're going to have nobody there to maintain the damn thing. So take the people who are doing that position before that may have gotten outplaced by a robot or been assisted by a robot or got replaced by an additive manufacturing machine or a CNC machine, and teach them how to use either one of them. Make them the control guy for that station. Make them the robot supervisor, or make them the supervisor for that station, because they know that station better than anybody else. They're going to know that station better than a robot does. They're going to tell you when something's wrong. Then they're going to learn that robot. They're going to learn that CNC machine. They're going to learn that additive manufacturing machine. Of when it starts squeaking or doing something that's not supposed to be doing, they're letting you know. And then they're telling you how to make optimizations to make your product better. Because now you've got them in a STEM field where they're having fun and they're learning from what they're doing on a daily basis. You've now made them curious. I harp to my team, at work all the time, outside of this, and I say, be curious. Always want to learn something. Always want to get your hands dirty and kind of learn the next step. What is next after what we're doing here? Every day you should be striving to learn that next thing. So if you do have employees that are displaced because of an increase in automation or increase in Industry 4.0 type of technology, train them to maintain that equipment. Train them to be the equipment supervisor, because they're going to learn that equipment to a T. You're going to promote them, give them more money, because that's just how this works. They're going to want to learn. They're going to want to be there. They're going to make sure this thing's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then you're going to get repetitive feedback every time there's an issue. What that is, that's leadership in STEM. And that's something that, I think is forgotten about. And, leadership in STEM is making sure the people that work with you, work for you, work under you, work beside you, stay curious. They always want to learn something. They want to enjoy what they do on a daily basis. And, that goes for everybody. Enjoy it. And that's kind of why we push STEM, because you can always learn something new. If you ever hear somebody say, hey, guess what? I know everything about STEM. No, you don't. No, you do not. I to this day, I try to find a new article every day to learn something. To sit down and really learn something, or learn something about a new company. Like, for example, today, I'm sitting there at work, and I really sit down and I start looking, and, I know the guys from Caracol, and, I've been talking with them a little bit, but, you always sit down and you go, okay, cool. What's next? What is, the next greatest thing, coming about? And, I found an article earlier or a company earlier that Vertico, VRTICO, which pretty much is, robot additive manufacturing. It is how we do, like 3D printing via robot. However, they figured out how to do it with concrete. So now they're doing 3D printed art with concrete with a robot arm. And, it's when I first looked at it and I said, okay, well, that's cool. And then you kind of dig more into it. It's like, okay, this is really getting cool now. And that's, just one of those things of where every single day find something new. If you are going to be what I like to nickname the master disaster of your domain, of your workforce, learn something new about it. For example, Ed always posts stuff about the OT environment. He becomes a master of his trade when it comes down to robotics and OT. Because he's constantly looking at how things are and why they are the way they are. Champ, or John, is always looking at additive manufacturing stuff, especially going through school doing it. He's becoming a master of his trade. And, the thing is, when you look at it, more people you surround yourself with, the more you learn. Like, I learn something from both of them all the time. And then, because the thing is everybody learns something different. Everybody kind of learns something new. I always look for new products, new people, new places, new things. And then I kind of look and see, okay, cool, how can I apply that to what we do? How can I apply that to the automotive aftermarket? How can I take a additive manufacturing robot and 3D print a race car body that's going to be dropped on top of a tube frame? How can you do that? It's not like it's injected molded. And, with how we do things now, that's kind of, how, how some of the car bodies are made if they're not made out of steel. However, even then you can just print the parts. But, for me, STEM is not just a 4-letter word or a 5-letter word. It's a lifestyle. You don't have to be obsessive compulsive about it. I have an addictive personality when it comes down to learning. I always want to learn more. I always want to learn something new. Like, I don't look at YouTube to really do any type of entertainment very much anymore. I look at it to learn something. Because there's people out there doing things a lot longer than I have. And guess what? I want to learn from them. But, the thing is it's a way of knowledge. It's a way of being. It's how to center yourself. Because if you center yourself in your career where it is STEM based, it is definitely something that is not going to be the ordinary. It's going to be something new. It's going to be something different. It's going to be something challenging. It's going to be something fun. We all need that. We all need to have fun at work. Most of the time these days, organizational changes and how the organizations are set up kind of make a drag on things and kind of kill the fun. Especially if you work in an organization that has, really high turnover, or is, very escalation type, environment. But the thing is if you keep learning something, you can get out of those environments. You can go, go someplace else, start your own thing, do what you want to do, have fun with it. And that's why, we also push, STEM, and why we care about STEM is because more people get interested in it, the more likelihood people are going to be entrepreneurs. People are going to leave toxic businesses and toxic organizations to start their own thing. You may start by getting a Haas mini mill in your garage and start a small machine shop. You may start by getting small 3D printers and build things for friends until you get off the ground. Or an Etsy shop a laser engraver, a 3D printer. You know, you may take your Haas CNC machine and add a robot to it. Or you may say, hey, guess what? I want to change to a company that cares about its people, cares about what they do, and go over to a company who does, you know, that type of stuff. If you're in a toxic work environment, you know, and the thing is, and at that point, you can choose your own work-life balance. You're not worried about somebody telling you if you have to work on the weekend or not. You build your own future. And that, for me, is the reason why we push STEM, is because STEM makes you an entrepreneur. And, you know, it not really makes you one, but it kind of forces it upon you to think like one. And then eventually, hopefully, you go out on your own and do your own thing and be an entrepreneur and own your own business and be successful and be able to enjoy time with your families. You know, it's like, I push the entrepreneur side of the house because, you know, that's what I try to do. That's what I'm pushing for. That's what I strive for every day, is to, you know, make that next step. And, you know, we hope to take, you know, our love for STEM and our enjoyment for it and give it to y'all. So you get enjoyment out of it. You get to learn something. You get to have a little bit of fun with it. You get a good laugh at us, you know, on occasion. Especially when, we start to squirrel a little bit, kind of like I did then. But that's here nor there. You know, we all have those days. But, you know, we want to make sure that every single person who listens knows that, hey, you know, we actually care about this stuff. We care about it. We care about the people who are listening to us. We just want to make sure that, you know, they have the best information they can possibly get. They're having fun. You know, if we can take time and make sure, well, not really make sure, but help you learn something every time you listen to us, then I feel like I did my job. That is also the reason why you'll always notice we don't have commercials or any of that stuff, you know, in our podcast, at least not at this point. Because we want to have fun with it. We want y'all to enjoy it. We don't want y'all to be burdened down by, oh, crud, I got to listen to this now. No, we don't want that. We want to have fun with it. We want y'all to learn something. We want y'all to have really, really, really enjoy it. But, you know, the thing is we keep saying that we can't do it without y'all. And that's kind of what I want to push. And that's the reason why, you know, we thought about canceling this week's podcast episode. And I sat down and I said, I can't do that. I need to have a conversation with y'all. You know, I needed to come out, you know, as, you know, the owner of the company and stuff like that. And tell y'all the truth. Tell y'all why we do what we do. Why we care about STEM. Because, you know, because you hear us talk about it. But, you know, I want y'all to understand that, you know, we do care. You know, we want to know what y'all are thinking. We want to know what y'all want to hear about. Something that, you know, we can do research on and we can come back to you and give you, you know, what we found. And we want to have those type of conversations with you. We want to eventually do some live streams. We eventually kind of want to do like a happy hour where it's like, hey, you know, we're going to sit around here and, you know, we're going to have a beverage, and we're going to talk about STEM. We're going to talk about robots. We're going to talk about, you know, some of the cool things. You know, we're going to be building a 3D printed robot very, very soon. And, you know, we want everybody to be part of that. And, you know, that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a 3D printed robot. I've got the STLs for it. So we're going to 3D print it. It's a 6 DOF robot. And we're going to have fun with it. Then we're going to start making some of our own things. You know, we may make our own CNC machine. You know, maybe out of a kit, maybe not. Maybe using the kit's contents. But the thing is we want everybody to join us on this journey. And, you know, I don't want anybody to ever think that, hey, they're doing this because, They're making money. To be very brutally honest with you, we haven't earned a dime doing this podcast, and I'm kind of glad we don't. Would it be nice to eventually even? Yeah, maybe. But I feel like we can give you more of us by just sitting here having a conversation, enjoying time with friends and stuff like that. And that's something else that I want everybody to understand what STEM is. STEM is a good time. STEM is time with friends. It's time with family because you get to teach them something new. You're working with people who enjoy this type of stuff. So if they're interested in it, they're energetic about it, they're making you learn more. So you're having fun with your friends. You get to attend some of these trade shows like Automate, like South Tech, like Rapid TCT, and really hone your craft by talking to some of these companies, talking to some of these people, and really doing what you do best. Expanding those horizons, having fun. Because I'm going to tell you something, every single one of those shows, there's a party to be had. And the thing is, the industry nights are great. The camaraderie that you make with these people and the conversations that you have with them last forever. Some of the people that I talk to at some of these shows, I still talk to this day, off and on, maybe not all the time, but, in passing at least. We have conversations. We see each other at the shows and we talk about things. We talk about how, we want to see STEM education get into schools. We want to see how, we want to, push forward with robot education and try to make something happen. And, it's one of those things of where, so many people do things for clicks and views, and we're not like that. We're not, will we eventually do some YouTube content that, yeah, but is it going to be clickbait? No. It's going to be real. It's going to be, hey, we're going to, either A, we're going to build this car or we're not, because we're going to do something cool. And then we're really going to get into the 3D printed robot build, the CNC build, stuff like that. We want people to be interested. We want people to enjoy it. We want people to, like and subscribe what we're doing. Because if you listen to this, by the way, on YouTube, there's more people that are not subscribed that are listening to this than are. So if you could do me a favor, if you get anything, even a chuckle out of what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Leave me a comment or leave us a comment. Tell us what you want to hear, what you want to know, what you want to learn about. And also, do me a favor and let me know if you kind of like this, if you like where we kind of just, I just kind of sit down and have a conversation with you. We'll bring up a topic and we'll talk about it. Just you and me. We'll have those conversations. I sometimes sound like I'm talking to myself. But, the thing is, we want everybody to have a good time. We want everybody to laugh. Think about it. And that's why we love STEM, because it's a community. STEM is a community. STEAM is a community too. Because it's always fun when you see the people who are with the artistic background that jump in and to STEM and stuff like that and start playing with AutoCAD, start playing with things they've never played with before, but they get it, they understand it, they know how it works. They're using a Wando board, or they're using a tablet or something like that to draw out what they're thinking, and they're bringing their designs to life. And once you start throwing a 3D printer in there, it changes how they do art. How much more easier it is for them to design something. Same thing when you start dealing with CNC. Will I ever say that a CNC knife is better than a forged knife? No, not at all. I still prefer forged. However, is that a viable option for somebody who needs to make blanks, knife blanks? Yeah, I think so. But it is what it is, but it's a community. Um, and it's a way of bonding together with a common good. Um, especially if you get kids involved in, STEM education. You get them where, well, they're not involved in, um, um, drugs. They're not involved in gang violence. They're not involved in, dropping out of school. We keep more kids involved in school if you have them involved in STEM, or if they get involved in STEM, they're interested in it. Cool. You may spend it. These kids may spend. Oh, I want to spend a little bit extra money on a 3D printer. Okay, I can handle that. Oh, I want one of the small tabletop CNC machines. Okay. Oh, I want this. I want that. Okay, cool. As long as it's supporting the STEM education side of the house, yeah, sure. You're not sitting there in front of the what I sometimes nickname the idiot box and play video games, which everybody gets to play video games. Believe me, I like them. I'm right there with you. I honestly bought an Xbox One just so I could play GoldenEye. So keep that one in mind. But the thing is, and it keeps kids learning, keeps kids interested, and if you spend a little bit of money on these type of things, you can always make the money back. By making something, selling it, learning how to be an entrepreneur from a young age. So, it prevents bad habits from starting. Not saying it will help anybody who's already antisocial. If you're antisocial and you get a 3D printer or stuff like that, you're just going to be even more antisocial. Because now you're going to be tweaking the thing and trying to figure out every nut and bolt about the darn thing to become the best you can at it. And then you're going to spend your entire time of existence on Reddit. Ask me how I know. Because you sit there and you want to learn more. You want to dig into things. You want to watch YouTube videos of people 3D printing things. For me, especially with kids involved in STEM, even if it's like, hey, I'm involved in the auto side of the house. I want to build custom cars or work on cars. And I want, that's my extent in STEM. Okay. So you spend a little bit extra much on your car parts. Cool. Guess what? You're building something pretty cool there. Keep it up. Buy a welder. Learn to weld. Learn the trade. Because learn metal shaping. Learn all this, because now you're dealing with angles. You're still dealing with STEM. Still having fun with it. If you want to learn woodworking, guess what? You gotta be knowing STEM, because if you don't know math, you can't add the wood and make it look right. So, it's one of those things. But, the thing is like I tell people, get involved in STEM. Get involved with it. Have some fun with it. Really enjoy it. That's why we do what we do. That's why we care about STEM, and that's why STEM, like the title states. That's why we want to help y'all. And, we want y'all involved with us. We want y'all to subscribe to us. We want y'all to listen to us. We want y'all to have a little bit of fun with it. And we want to know what you're thinking. We want to know what you want to know. And I honestly want to know if you want to hear still more of this type of stuff, where I just sit down and have a conversation with you. And, we talk about everything. We can do a whole entire episode on, support. What is support? As far as for, IT support type of thing. Setups for environments. Or what is a manufacturing execution system? How does that differ from what things are going on? Which, sooner or later, if you pay attention to vulcanara.com and some other things, you'll see, an ebook drop here and there, which I'm working on trying to get that done. So hopefully we'll get that in play very, very soon. And, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listened to us. Like I always do, I always cover what our recent stats are, just so everybody's aware. 2,867 all-time views, or downloads, I should say. Y'all, let's get to 3,000. But also, let's subscribe to the YouTube channel, Vulcanara Technology Solutions, over on YouTube. It'll be linked in the description of the podcast. Go there, subscribe for me. I don't care where you're at in the world. subscribe. We want to reach out to you. We want to do big things. We want to be able to bring you that content on every single platform we can to make sure y'all are having fun. Y'all are joining us on this ride. We're gonna bring y'all to SEMA with us. We're gonna bring the camera with us, or we're gonna bring something with us at least. And we're gonna have fun with it. Who knows? You may see some of the 3D printed stuff that we do that keep things all together. But I just want to say thank you. Go out and take a look at the blog.vulcanara.com. Go take a look at the website, vulcanara.com. Vulcanara 3D, where we're going to be doing more and more apparel, more and more shirts, that type of stuff. And go take a look at Printed Heritage. I promise you guys, I'm gonna get in there and redo some of that, so it'll help you guys order the lithophanes better. And we are, I think, soon I'm gonna do a YouTube video on what is a lithophane and really kind of break down what our process is. So we'll have to look into that, see how things go. But leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested in it. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all for taking time just to listen to just me, rant and rave about this type of stuff. We hope that answers your question about, why STEM? Why do these guys care? And, what do we want to accomplish? But, I thank y'all. I hope y'all have a good night. And, we'll see y'all around the bend. All right, y'all. Have a good one. That's all for this episode of Tech at Lunch. Thanks for tuning in and joining us for this tech-filled lunch break. We hope you enjoy the show, and don't forget to subscribe on all channels. And also, you can find us on YouTube under Vulcanara Technology Solutions. And join us for our next episode, which gets published every Wednesday at 8 a.m. All right, y'all. Have a good one. See you later.